Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to this webinar, our third in a series of 3 webinars we've done for a developer course for Jahia 7. And today, it's the Jahia 7 Studio and Digital Industrialization. Excuse me. So today in this webinar, we will look at the new Jahia administration panels and see how you can add your own customizable administration panel to Jahia 7. We will also look at the new site settings graphical user interface, and finally we will learn more about the new private app store and how to administrate that. So in Jahia 7, we have completely redone the administration module. We've created a new administration mode. So both server administration as well as site administration, they've both been improved. So let me log into my local Digital Factory installation as the root super user. And the first screen I see is my user dashboard. And you can easily access administration now through the mode menu. Anytime you see the mode menu in the toolbar and you have the right to administration, you can access that here. So we're first going to look at server administration. Clicking here, I'm now in the server administration. And the settings here apply to everything installed on my Jahia Digital Factory installation. So any actions and operations performed here will affect all the sites that are hosted on the Jahia server. So usually only the root super user would have access to this, but of course you can change that. So let's look at what we have here. On the first panel, you can see just an overview of your Digital Factory installation, the build, license, and so forth. Under configuration, we have a quick view of database settings, including the max number of connections allowed and currently active. And you can set up your mail server settings here if you didn't do so during installation. Under system components, we'll look at this a bit later. Under System Health, you have an overview of the cache and how it is on your system, and you can flush caches here. You can also easily perform a thread dump, and you can manually run the garbage collector through here. So I talked about access to this administration. You can see here under users and roles. In Jahia 7, we provided you with 2 out-of-the-box server roles here. The server administrator, giving someone access to the server administrator role or assigning them to that role, would give them access to this administration we are now in. We also have delivered a web designer role. So you can give someone access, complete access to the studio by just assigning them this role. And that's easily done by picking amongst the users you have on the system. So if I added a user to the server administrator role, he now has access to this administration. And excuse me, let's say that I don't want this user to be able to change the administrator properties or change anything with the role. If I go to roles and permissions, I can start customizing this server administrator role. So here's the role. Click on that. Here are some basic permissions, and now I have a button which gives me just the server administration permissions. So you can see here, these are all the panels that we're looking at here. So I don't want this person to be able to change the root user or anything about the roles. So just simply uncheck those and save. And now I've customized the server administrator role. Remember that in Jahia, users are global to the entire application. Here you can create users. You can always bulk create users by uploading a CSV file. And remember, you can also be connected to a node app. So you can have your user directory that way. So users are common to the entire application, and you create them here. Lastly, you see the web projects listed here. I have my XMSig demo and then a few other web projects. And you create web projects through this administration panel. And of course, we support multiple web projects for a single installation of Jahia. Each site will have its own domain and sitemap and structure. However, in Jahia, we share template sets and modules across the platform, so all sites can use these. Now, new to Jahia is each web project will have their own administration settings called site settings, and we've moved that out of the basic administration. So again, we've refactored and redesigned administration panels, and let's look at how that is done. If I click here, I can go directly to edit mode for my Acme Space site. And this is like before. We can see the sitemap. We can see the content library here to create content, files and images, all the same buttons, including the channel tab here. And right before that, you're going to see a new button called Site Settings. So here are all the settings just for this Acme Space demo site. And so each site administration is accessed inside edit mode. So this site is running on Bootstrap templates, so we have our new Bootstrap customization panel. Here we can filter out HTML tags that we don't want users to use and when we're creating rich text. So if we don't want anyone to use this, it'll be filtered out. Let's stay there. We can run the link checker just for this site. We can add languages easily and change the default or mandatory activate, deactivate languages. Clicking on the modules panel, we can have a quick overview of all the modules that are installed on this site. To deploy, undeploy modules that will be in the server administration. We'll definitely look at that in a minute. New is this vanity URL dashboard. So search engine optimization URLs that you create. You can have an overview of them and click on the site here, the link, to see the page. You can also edit here, and now I'm editing the page, and I can go directly to SEO tab, and I can change this vanity URL if I'd like. So now we have a site roles panel as well, and here is a site administrator. So this person, somebody with this role, would have access to this site settings. So again, we can just simply add someone, and now they have access here. Now, I want to customize this. I don't want them to be able to change roles, or maybe I just want to give access to the link checker maybe. So that can be done in administration for the server. Again, we'll go back there. And remember, in the roles and permissions panel, we look for that site administrator. Here's our site administrator role. Clicking on that, I have all the panels here for my site administration, my site settings. So maybe I just want this person to be able to come in and do a link check, or all my site administrators. So I can save that, and I've just customized the site administrator role. So we redesigned all this administration settings and redone these panels so we could deliver a more intuitive user experience, of course. But we also wanted to allow for customization of these panels. So here we are in the server settings, and I showed you site settings, and all these panels can be customized. If you have access to an extranet on Jahia.com, that's where you can download Enterprise Digital Factory source code. And inside, you will find two modules, one called Server Settings and one called Site Settings. And just like all other default Jahia modules, you are free to extend these modules for your own integration. So maybe you would like to change the look and feel on some of these panels, or maybe you'd like to add functionality, or maybe you'd like to create new panels. You can do that. So first, let's talk about in Jahia 7, we have integrated Spring Webflow framework. And Spring Webflow allows you to implement flows on a web application. So you can guide a user through a sequence of steps in order to complete business tasks. And our administration panels use Spring Webflow framework. You can find documentation for the Spring Webflow in Jahia on our site under Resources, Developer Documentation. And looking at these two modules I mentioned, site settings and server settings, you can see examples of how we've implemented Spring Webflow. So it's a good start for your Spring Webflow project. So let's see how to customize, create a new administration panel. Going to Studio, I'm going to create a module. I will call it Demo Panel. So let's get that created. And what we've done is we've created new content views for these administration panels. So you can quickly and easily create your own panels. So we're creating our module inside Studio. Behind the scenes, it is running the Maven goal for module creation, and here we have our module. So we'll go directly to the second tab for the templates. Because what we want to do is create a new server administration panel. And this is done by going to the templates. And here you'll see, new to Jahia 7, we have create a new server settings-based template. So, of course, remember, just like in all templates, that base template will create all the common areas you need for the rest of your template set. So let's go back quickly to administration and see that we're going to be able to put a panel in here, and it will all have all the common framework that these others have because I added that base template. So the next step is to add a content template, which will be our panel. I'll just name it that, and we can even add a little icon if we wanted to. I'll upload a I'll see what the size this is. This is too big, so remember in here we can go ahead and resize this. We'll make this smaller. Now we add an icon and we have a content template. We can put anything we want in here. You can drop in modules, you can create columns, you can add tabular lists. Again, it works the same as all the other templates that the modules we've been working on. So let's add a bootstrap tabular list. So first I need to take a dependency over, add a dependency for the bootstrap component. And I will see, I type in tab, I have a bootstrap tabular list. So here I can add a content list, and what I want to do actually is quickly display all news that's on my site for all web projects that have created news. So here, we'll just, in this example, do a query really fast for that. So I'll just do from my clipboard here. So I'm going to look on the entire server for all content of type JNT News, ordered by date descending, and display that in this first tab here. So before I can do that, before enabling this on the server administration panel settings, I can remember we have the in context view that's new to Jahia 7. And if I click on that, I can see how this is going to look. I already see that it's working. I have all my news being pulled in this list. So how do I make this available in the server administration settings? Remember, you go to the details of the module and you enable this wherever you'd like it to be seen. And to get to the server administration, we enable it on the system site. One click and we're ready to go. So let's go to administration and see that we have our new panel. Here it is, and I click on it, and here I am listing all the news on the site. I can click again and refresh here. So that's a simple example because I wanted to show you how easy it is to create your own administration panels. Of course, you might want to do something with Spring Webflow here to have more complex tests being done and deliver more to this administration panel. Going back to Studio, I want to do another example for the site settings. It's pretty much the same idea. Here, let's go back to the template. And clicking on the root here, I want to add a new site settings page template. And to that, a new content template. Again, I can add an icon. I can control that there. And for another example, here, let's go up here and we'll upload some files to the template set. So let me upload it. Remember, you can upload a zip file and ask Jahia to unzip it for you. And what I want to do is display I have a list of technical documents in this folder. So let's display a folder. We can choose files from a folder. And all I have to do is choose the folder now, which we have uploaded here. So here we have it. And remember, in context view, we click on that and we can see how it's going to look. We go to the module details and we decide which site settings should have this. Maybe I want them on a few of my sites. I just enable that. So I have them on Acme Space and XYZ manufacturing site settings will include this new panel. So going to edit mode, here we are in Acme Space, and here we see my demo site panel that I created. And I've listed here's Spring Web Flow documentation, and clicking on that, here in the viewer, I can view this PDF. That's just one idea of something you can provide. Of course, the options are limitless for what you can customize for these panels. So that was the administration and site settings part of this webinar. So next, what we want to talk about is the new private app store module that Jahia has. And in earlier webinars, we saw how developers can quickly and easily release their modules to a private app store. The app store was already on. It's already added and administrated correctly. So here, because this webinar is for administrators as well, we're going to just start from this application has no private app store. So private app store's administration is done through server administration, of course. Under system components, we have a private app store panel. But first, let's look closer at the modules panel. So with the modules panel, you have two lists here. You have install modules. Of course, these are all the modules that are currently installed on my application. And the available modules at this moment is empty. That is because I'm not connected to any app store at all. So private app stores can actually be public. And one app store you can link to your application, of course, is the public Jahia app store. And to add that, we simply add the URL, and there we have it. So now if we go back to modules, clicking on available modules, there we have a list of all the modules that are available, that have been published to the Jahia public app store. You can have as many public or private app stores as you wish. Here, we can add a few. We're going to create a private one in a minute. But in these available modules, now this is for someone who's administrating the Jahia application server. Here, for instance, we could click on the details for this module, and we quickly see what it looks like in the private app store. Now let's say we want to install this module, this Jahia spam filtering. We simply click download, And now it will become one of our installed modules here in this tab. You can easily search. Here we have the module installed. I could download the sources and start working on it in Studio. I can enable it on a site, easy. Here we go. And one thing I want to show you is that we can stop the module. Takes a minute to stop. Now let's look at that again and see the state. So it's not started, but it exists. And now I want to completely remove this module from my installation. And before in Jahia, you couldn't do this. So undeploy is something new to Jahia 7. And now if I look on my install module, I no longer have that module there. And here we have an unavailable module. So it was like I never installed it. So let's see how to set up a private app store. So a private app store can be set up on your application. It starts with two modules. We have a module called Jahia Private App Store, of course, and Jahia Private App Store Template in order to have the graphical user interface presented to work in the App Store. So once you have these two modules installed on your application, let me go to my dashboard. What will happen is a private app store site will be created. It's a web project. And viewing it in live mode lets me see what this private app store looks like, and I also have access to the administration for the private app store. So first we're going to, excuse me, first we're going to administrate and set up correctly this private app store here, and then we will connect it to our digital factory installation where I had entered the URL for the Jahia public one, and we'll see how that works. So here it's telling me that I must first define a valid repository, Nexus repository, and then I can upload modules. So I'll click on the private app store administration. So it's the administrator's job to configure the settings for the private app store and also give access to developers and whoever else should have access so they can add their modules. And of course, this app store depends on a Maven repository. So this is the first step in setting up an app store. So I have a test Nexus server that I can work with here. And I'm just going to copy that in there. And you need the identifier amongst the Nexus repository and also the user, the main user that has write access. So I'll just save that, and it seems like everything worked okay. On the next tab of Private App Store Administration, we have the roles. There are two roles for private app stores. You have the administrator, so giving someone, assigning someone to this role, of course, would give them access to this administration we are now in. And then you would like to add all your developers, of course, to the role, assign a role to all your developers for the private app store developer, so they could upload their modules and change the modules. So, of course, this role here is for developers. They can add new modules either by uploading just a jar file or releasing directly from Studio, as we did in the last presentation. They can only edit their own modules and, of course, upload new versions of their modules. So here we have the reader role. Of course, just like in the rest of Jahia, they can see this private app store. So I'm going to remove the guest user, and now I'm going to make it a truly private app store. Only users, only authenticated users can access this app store now. This tab here is for the categories. You must define the root category for your app store. App stores use the faceted search on the left to look for modules. This is very important to set up your categories. I'll just say the root is project here. And save. And now I'm free to add new categories. Now I have this new category, social. I'll add a news category. I have two categories that I can edit and delete here. Once this is done, we can click back here on the logo and go to the main page of our private app store. And the message has changed here. Now I can click or drag and drop modules here. So let's see how this looks if I upload a jar file. This is my Acme News from a previous presentation I did. And here we have the view of the module inside the private app store. Now, we went through this in another presentation, but this is a review. To have people give people access to this module, we have to publish it. But there are a few things developers need to do to get their module ready for delivery on an app store. And so we give this completion bar here, and we're only 55% done of all the things we could do to this module in the App Store. It's always nice to upload an image. So here's our news module. And in red here, this is a mandatory task. We have to go to the category here and select the category. And I just created that new category, and we can add that. So our completion bar has gone up to 70%. And in green, I have no more mandatory tasks. So I'm just going to go ahead and publish this. I'll go to the main page of my App Store, and here it is. Now, we're almost done with administrating our private App Store. Here, we need this URL. This is the URL to here, so people can view this App Store. So clicking here, I'll copy that to the clipboard. And we'll go back to server administration. Now here under System Components, we have that private App Store panel where I added the public App Store for Jahia. Here I can just add the URL to the App Store I just created. And the user here is actually my user root. And I save. So now I have two different App Stores running here. One's public, one's private, one's Jahia, one's my internal private App Store. And if I go to modules, I expect to see in this arrow modules not only the Jahia applications module, but that Acme News that I just created, and here it is. And again, clicking on the details, I can look at what I was just looking at before. It's only 70% done here. Since I'm an administrator, I can actually do actions in here. And again, we can download to install. And here it is installed on my application. We can enable it on a site with one click, and now we're free to use that on the site. Let's go do that. Let's see. Go to edit mode. Go to the site. And we can even just click here. Here's our Acme components, and there's our Acme News that we can drag and drop. Going back to administration, I could disable this on the site, and I can also purge all content that was created using that if I wanted to do a total cleanup of this module. And one step further, you could stop the module like we did before and completely undeploy it. Or you could upload a new version here, and you can have many versions installed on Jahia, and just one started. Maybe you want to test out a previous version or a next version. So these are the points, the key points for this webinar today. With the private App Store, the idea is that, of course, each member of a development team releases the work to a central code repository. And that way, everyone can use and reuse these modules. And administrators can deploy these modules easily. But most importantly, they can deploy safely because they know they are deploying the version directly from the source code repository. So now I would like to open it up for questions. Please use the Q&A panel in the webinar, and I'll collect all questions, and then I'll come back online, and we'll answer those together. So I'll see you in a few. Hi everyone, welcome back. Most of the questions I've been getting are about where can I find the documentation for what we just talked about, and in general, another question was how do I start learning to develop on Jahia. So here's our Jahia.com site right here. I'm showing you. Hope I'm sharing the screen. Let's just check that. Yes, I'm sharing my desktop. Here we go. So I mentioned the extranet before. This is our customer extranet. You need to log in here, and of course, if you're already a Jahia customer and you don't have access, you need to request that. Any other information about getting access to the customer extranet, please contact sales@jahia.com. Let us know. But here on the site, we do have resources, and I talked about this developer's documentation. Now, here you can start learning about OSGI and Digital Factory, the Spring Flow integration that I talked about, and many other documentations are here, cache, and here we have mobile development and how to develop native mobile apps on Digital Factory. So here's where you can look at all our PDF documentation. Of course, don't forget we have some video tutorials here, which are quick starts for developers, how to quickly create a module and commit to source code. And another question which is frequent for all these webinars I've been having is how do I just get up and running on Digital Factory? So if you go to Products Digital Factory, click on the try and download. And here, here's your 60-day trial for the enterprise distribution of Digital Factory. And if you download the demo pack here, there's instructions on how to quickly and easily get up and running on Digital Factory. So that's it for our webinar today. I want to thank you for joining me, and we'll see you soon. Bye.